Technical difficulty.
Technical difficulties going on over here. Oh, it's it. I don't know what we did. We literally just refreshed YouTube Studio and it works. Right. So we're going to do the first 10 minutes of this stream all over again. Sorry about that, guys. Perfect. Right. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Flowall. Hey, John. Yeah, Iconic. Drifter. Thomas Bleach. Lewis. I saw Maple Leaf earlier as well. Hello to you all. Welcome back. Sorry for that. I have no idea what was actually happening there. It wasn't going live. For some reason, I had to actually... audio is very low. Better? Ooh, maybe that's a bit too high. No audio at all. The audio... Oh. Is that any better? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Right. 9 Mile, give us a voice check.
Hello.
Right, can everyone hear 9 Mile? Right, that's as high as they'll go. Awesome. Right. Technical difficulties at the start of the stream, isn't it? Right. Apologies for all this, guys. This is the first setup for the actual Millennium, the official Millennium channel. So this is why we do testing beforehand. And this is why testing goes wrong. Awesome. It's okay. Don't worry. We'll restart from the beginning. Right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. For the third time, welcome. Right. So, today we're here to talk about MOS. If you don't know who 9 Mile is, over there, 9 Mile is kind of our software guru on the Millennium team. He shows up every now and again, drops something incredible, and then kind of scurries off and does his own thing for a while. But he's a lovely dude, and he's got some stuff to tell us about MOS or Millennium OS. Take it away, 9 Mile, again.
Let's see if I can remember what I said the first time. So MOS is Millennium OS. Glance, you'd think is Millennium operating system. It's Millennium operations system, and what I mean by that is it's something that's built on top of an actual operating system, and it implements operations on top of RetWrap firmware, and implements a bunch of functionality that should make machining. So RetWrap firmware itself is a really good 3D printer firmware. It's really powerful. It's really familiar if you've ever used a 3D printer before. The web interface is pretty usable and it's easy to get started. But from a CNC perspective, from functionality there, but it doesn't have higher level functionality that you'd see on like advanced VMs and tool setting, automated tool setting, and other features like that. So
9 Mile, sorry to interrupt. Could you go to audio only potentially? Just because your voice is cracking up a bit more.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, good to go?
Much better. Go ahead.
Okay. A package that runs on top of level functionality.
No, we're still missing out on your audio. It's still cutting out.
How about now?
It was better then.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably too many.
And it's gone again.
Okay.
Oh, this is lovely, isn't it? Technical difficulties. Sorry, folks.
Any
Go ahead. Keep talking.
audio side?
Say something longer, because it seems to be fine for a bit.
Okay. And being an operation system.
No. No better, I'm afraid. Right. What I'll do, 9 Mile, is if you stay in chat, and what I'll do is I'll try and go over all the points that you told me before. Stay in chat and bring some stuff up if you need to. If not, I'll try and cover everything for you. How does that sound? And we'll try and reschedule for another time, perhaps.
Better?
It's a bit better.
Works on top of each other here, and yeah, they're struggling, I think.
Yeah, sorry about that, dude.
It's all good.
Cool. We'll do one last test, and if not, I'll just take over if that's okay.
I can continue if it's not. Then.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue where you left off, bud.
Cool. I can't remember where we got to. Millennium OS as an operation system instead of an operating system. So it's running on top of RetWrap firmware, implementing some higher level functionality on top of the existing firmware that RetWrap firmware already implements. RetWrap firmware has a pretty unique way of looking at things where G-code is everything. So the configuration files are all G-code. And it has this idea of meta G-code, which is essentially like a programming language, which makes it feasible to implement some sort of high-level programming for macros, for probing and tool setting and other bits and pieces like that. And what that means is that we can make basic user inputs control some pretty complex probing methodologies to get people started with RetWrap firmware for machining, even if they have very little experience in actual machining tasks. So Millennium OS as a thing is a package that's installed into RetWrap firmware for Fusion 360 that creates G-code RetWrap firmware. Is everybody still with me?
Yeah, most people here. Hi, Jason. How you doing, bud? Didn't know MOS was a thing. We mentioned it once or twice, but we didn't say exactly what we were going to call it. Continue, 9Mile, please.
No, I missed that. The Wi-Fi is still problematic here.
It's all right. Would you like me to continue for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Stay in chat. I'll try and talk through as much as I can. Mention some stuff that I've missed, and I'll get on it.
Cool.
Right, so sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. We are going to have to work on getting him some better Wi-Fi at some stage. Basically, 9mile's been putting in a lot of work to create a software package that bolts onto any configuration of RepRap firmware. So you could be running any board, any setup, any config, and all you would need to do is edit a couple lines in the MOS config that you would download to your normal config file, and you'll get access to a whole bunch of features. The idea is we're trying to become we're trying to get to feature parity with things like Linux CNC and other firmwares that are out there. Because whilst RepRap firmware has a good control side, as in the actual parsing of G code, it's not too friendly on the actual user end. We have a lot of people who are coming from the 3D printer side of things, so best things for them would be to have a setup that walks them through every single process. So effectively, what 9mile has implemented so far, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, 9mile, he's implemented a whole load of probing routines. We've implemented a whole load of tool length offset probing. Some cool features like VSS, which is variable spindle speed. Where in future, it's not on the roadmap, the near roadmap. We're going to be implementing a facing macro. So instead of having to go to a computer every single time to program a macro, what you'll be able to do is jog your tool over to the corner, press the macro. It will then ask you for the length and width of the part that you're trying to face and the depth that you're trying to face to. And then it will auto-generate that G code. Any questions so far? No. So the idea behind Millennium OS is basically the same as what we have on the hardware side of things. So Milo is designed as a platform. It's not designed to be the best cutting machine in the world. Otherwise, we'd have to get big cast iron machines out there. But it is designed as a platform for easy modifications by people, right? The idea behind MOS is the same kind of thing. It's a kind of bolt-on fixture. Sorry, not bolt-on fixture. Bolt-on software that will run on anything that can do a lot of things. It will also have an experts mode, where all the kind of dialog boxes that will pop up to say, oh, please check that you've inserted this, please check that you've inserted that. That slow down operation will be removed, can be removed by just toggling the setting. And that way you can speed up your workflow if you already know what you're doing. Are you able to demo MOS UI at the moment? MOS UI is the same as the RepRap firmware UI for now. It's not changing the UI elements. Effectively, we're standardizing a whole load of macros so that we can use them in future to get things out to you. For example, later on down the line, if we wanted to, we would add tool changing as a macro to MOS, right? The reason we do that is because it standardizes it across all our machines and how it's made, rather than everyone getting their own macros built in their own styles. We can get something out to you guys that always works. Will you have a good doc for MOS on how to install and use? Yes, it uses RF. Yeah. So just what 9mile said, it uses RepRap firmware dialog boxes to ask for user input and explains what a probing cycle is going to do, for example. It does a whole lot more of that. If you don't know what VSS is, it's basically ramping the spindle up and down in quick succession to avoid certain vibrations at certain speeds. So that will be implemented in MOS. MOS is going to cover a wide range of things. Right now, we're focusing on probing, and we'll see, and we'll add a whole bunch of features in future. Effectively, we weren't too, or I personally wasn't too happy with just telling you guys to use RepRap firmware and figure it out for yourselves. 9mile is just helping make that process a little bit easier for you guys to learn with Millennium OS. And this way, we'll also have an easy to install pre-made system for all Milos going forward, for all machines going forward, for example. Will you have good docs for MOS on how to install and use? Yes, it'll be a similar documentation system to what we have currently. Effectively, all you need to do is install RepRap firmware the normal way, install one of our configs or make your own, because you can use it on your own config, and then literally download a file from your computer to RepRap firmware, which is a couple of clicks, and then change one line in a config file somewhere, and it will do the rest for you. It's also going to be what we're going to be using to handle tools. Currently, if I'm not wrong, it's going to be a volatile tool table. There's a few reasons that are too technical for me to go into right now. 9mile, if you can explain what I mean, why that is later on, that would be great. By volatile tool table, we mean it's not persistent between power offs. So if you put 5 tools in your tool table for one set of operations, turn the machine off, and then put it in for, then start up again, those tools will disappear. Unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be done for now. We'll see if we can get that to work better later on down the line. It also allows us to have a basis for adding other things in future. Like I said earlier, we could do some tool changing with it. We could do some tool offset probing if we really felt like it. Yeah, for now, it is a volatile tool table because, like 9mile says in chat, we can only do manual tool changes, and there's no point in having a persistent tool table because you have to probe for tool length anyway. Any other questions in chat? This is your moment to get any questions out, guys. We'll be starting a channel soon. These aren't generic enough to be merged into RepRap itself. No, they're not generic enough because we'll have macros for setting up your tool position, your tool offset sensor, for example. Stuff that most machines won't have as stock. So we'll have to create them ourselves. VSS may be something that you integrate. We could integrate it into RepRap firmware, but that's up to the RepRap guys to do. We don't control the RepRap guys. Also, if you don't know yet, RepRap 3.5 is out. I'm not sure if there's a version for the Team Gloomy boards, but that does introduce software backlash compensation. So, and that is what we're building MOS off of, is RepRap 3.5. I'll ask the obvious one then. Estimated release date. I'll let 9mile say that one. I know he's got pretty far into our MVP. He showed us a couple of videos on stream. Sorry, not on stream. On the dev channels. But we are going to go beta first. Let it out to you guys to test. Please, if you don't feel comfortable testing, don't install it. And then after that, we'll be releasing it fully. Will you create a video or live stream on how to set up /use MOS? 9mile sent us a whole load of videos already, basically showing us the proof of concept. So definitely. But saying that, he has done such an amazing job on it that it's effectively a tutorial within the RepRap firmware UI. Going back to the talk about UIs that we had earlier, we have asked some of the Duet guys if they don't mind helping us remake DWC, which is the UI for RepRap firmware, to a more CNC friendly version. That's going to be after the implementation of MOS, because MOS is the software side. We'll try and do a better UI side later on down the line. Yeah, like 9mile is saying in chat, it is fairly close to a beta release, I think, from what he's shown us. He's implemented most types of probing. We'll need to redesign Long John, which shouldn't be too hard. It just needs an extra dowel. It won't be too expensive. And that's just as a reference surface to use, a reference probing surface. For those that have interest in providing feedback, can get access to the beta channel in Discord. Yes. So we'll do a closed beta first for anyone who has a machine. That won't last too long, seeing if everything goes well. So everyone who's currently got a machine that runs a RepRap board, you'll have access to it when 9mile is ready. I don't want to put words in his mouth. And then once that's done, we'll put it out as an open beta. So you won't need a special beta testing tag like you would have before. You will just be able to use it. Yeah, so it can, for Long John, it can be used without modification, but it means touching up against the table, which for some people is a bit daunting to do, and especially for people who don't know what they're doing. So the dowel is going to be a bit easier for you guys, and you can, if you crash into the dowel, you can get rid of that and replace it with something else. Okay, I'm interested in the dowel. Where does it go? It's just going to go on the side of the tool setter. It will be, I think 9mile said, either level with or slightly underneath the level of the actual tool setter. And it's effectively just going to be a second hole that you pop a dowel in, and used as a reference surface. It won't go on the spindle mount. Right. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? Is the dowel for probing or tool offset? It's for Long John, so it's for tool offsets. For the Z tool, tool length probing, basically. So if you change from one tool to another, you can run the tool length offset macro, and it will work. Do we know the diameter of the dowel potentially? It'll be a fairly thick one. We're thinking about 10 mil at the moment, and that's just to cover the range of an ER16 collet. Unfortunately, it won't work on tools that are bigger, so fly cutters, shell mills, things like that, or insert face mills, or things like that. If you know the auto Z offset macro for Clipper, you can also do something similar by touching off the tool probe onto the XYZ probe onto the top of the tool setter itself, and then working your way back from that. Also worth pointing out, this is designed to work with both touch probe and without touch probe. where you have to jog towards a workpiece surface yourself. Yeah, so there's lots of integrations that we're working on, lots of features that we're working on. 9 Mile, it's a pity 9 Mile couldn't stay on stream because he's got a better knowledge of this than I do. He's the one making it after all. Will it be compatible with ER20? I don't see why not. You'll just maybe need to put a larger dowel in. Yeah. So long as the lowest point of the flute touches that dowel, you should be fine. So can we use the probing routines with Fusion 360? I don't know. 9 Mile, can you answer that question for us? I know that the probing routines in Fusion are for the paid versions only, I believe. I don't think it comes with the free version of Fusion. Would a 2.2 kilowatt spindle be too heavy? No. We spec a 2.2 kilowatt spindle anyway. Either 1.5 or 2.2 kilowatt will be fine. It would be great if we could reuse the 10mm dowel from the LDO kit for the new Long John. Which 10mm dowel? Oh, you mean that's not a dowel. That's a gauge pin. So dowels aren't precision pieces, gauge pins are. When it says 10mm on a dowel, that could be 10.2, 10.3, whatever. The dowels the gauge pins that come with the LDO kits are bang on 10mm. No more, no less. Up to about 1/1000th of a millimeter, I believe. So from 9 Mile, it might be possible to down the line to trigger Millennium OS probing macros that match up with Fusion 360 probing types. So that's an answer to your question from before. Hey Tin, how you doing, bud? Oh, this feels like a real chilled out stream for once. I don't actually have to do anything. It's great, other than talk. Lovely. And yes, I do have an addiction to Coca-Cola. Everyone's got their vices. All good. Good to hear it, bud. We're hoping, we said a while ago, I'm not sure if it's still the same, we're hoping to get something out to you guys before the LDO kits ship and actually arrive with you guys. But again, we don't know. And it'll be done when it's done. Right? Same excuse as, well, no, it's not an excuse. Same reasoning as the Voron guys. We don't want to give you a broken tool. We want to make sure that whatever you're using from us is capable of A, keeping you safe within reason, and B, working for you guys. So will there be a need for a new post-processor in Fusion? Yes, we're going to be releasing a post-processor that goes alongside MOS. The reason for that is because the post-processor needs to prompt for certain things, and then MOS will pick up those prompts and then serve you whatever you're looking for, whether it be a probing cycle or VSS or this, that, and the next thing. Sorry for even asking. I was joking about the release date, dude. Don't worry about it. I'm sorry if I sounded angry there. I wasn't trying to be angry at all. Yeah, it's just a case of when it's ready, it'll be ready. You're allowed to ask these kind of things. Don't get me wrong. Nimal, is there anything else that you can think of that's worth mentioning? Yeah, the post processor uses some custom macros that are implemented by Millennium OS to trigger certain behavior. Yeah. In the past, I've always been doing my probing before starting the job. Is the new post processor going to be calling a local probing macro? Normally, you would probe before the job. There are instances where you wouldn't. The nice thing with CNC stuff, at least, is you're normally, as long as your tool is following a certain standard, as long as the center of the tool stays the same, you wouldn't have to reset your work coordinate system because it's always using that reference from the center of the tool. For example, enabling variable speed control, making sure this machine waits for spindle to get up to speed, with scope in future to wait for input from VFD before continuing. The post can work in two ways. It can probe a work coordinate system just before switching into it, or can probe or use work coordinate systems at the start of the job. So if you're using multiple different work coordinate systems, so say you'll have a vice on one side of the table and a vice on the other side of the table, and you're going from process 1 to process 2, you can set those up within MOS itself, from what I've been shown. So will this also be more user-friendly to use G54, 55, 56, more user-friendly? It's effectively doing the same thing, but it's going to walk you through the steps of how to use it. Is that everyone's questions? Nimal, did you think of anything else? Sorry, not sure what happens by typing. It's all right, it's all right. Not sure if I understood what you were actually asking, but... yeah, so it's a good point. All the macros are still found within the config of MOS itself. All the post processor is doing is calling to those macros. So effectively, you should still be able to edit them. We don't want to close anyone off from being able to do that. So if you need to change something, you'll still be able to change that. If no one has any more questions, I think that's going to be it for the stream tonight. Hold on. So this is from Nimal. Just that if it isn't easy to install and use, then it's not attaining the goal I had for creating it. So I'm aiming for, if you can use a 3D printer, you can learn how to use MOS / inside MOS. Hopefully all you'll need to learn is what feeds and speeds to pick and how to make cam parts. Yeah, so effectively MOS is a system to learn all the bits for setup on a CNC machine, and make that easier for you, as well as a few other kind of nice to have features. So you'll just need feeds, speeds, and cam at that point, which is akin to learning how to use a slicer. It's a bit more complicated than a slicer. In some ways, a lot less complicated than a slicer in a lot of other ways. Right, I think that'll be us for tonight, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for battling through the technical difficulties with us. It's been fun, I guess. So we'll try and keep everyone informed. We'll be opening up a MOS channel in the Discord later on tonight. How is that related to Fusion 360? I mean, in Fusion, is Fusion a requirement for everything to work nicely with MOS? No, Fusion isn't a requirement. We're just developing for it. If you wanted to use SolidWorks CAM, for example, you just need to edit the post-processor. Right? That's the only real difference. You should, from my knowledge of it, be able to import a lot of what's already in the Fusion post and tweak it a little bit, so it won't be as hard as making it up from scratch. But again, I've never done that before, so I can't comment on it with certainty. Right, guys, thanks for coming. Have a great night. I hope you all sleep well. Bye now.